Imagine trusting someone with every piece of your heart, your future, and hundreds of thousands of dollars, only to watch it all collapse in one electric moment that nobody could have seen coming. Suddenly, the mask slips. One message flashes on Jovi's phone. 3 words. Missing you already? And just like that, Yara's world flips upside down. Not because of what she read, but because she already knew. This was the moment her intuition was finally louder than her hope. It's wild, isn't it? How the things that destroy you are hiding in plain sight, while everyone else is busy double-tapping the perfect couple posts online. When was the last time you saw a heartbreak happen live and in color, with money, trust, and reputation on the line, all broadcast for millions? Last week, fans still believed Jovi and Yara were riding out their classic 90-day Fiancé roller coaster. Relatable bickering, cultural clashing, job stress, everything in public, yet somehow, always united. Yara was glowing. Jovi was projecting the confidence of a guy with both hands on his own life. Even their jokes about needing couples therapy landed with the safe knowledge they'd always work it out. Or so it seemed. But some tension was brewing behind the smiles, and the fans who stuck around past the filters and happy captions might have spotted it. Late-night texts. Jovi dodging questions. Yara brushing off a vibe that felt wrong but couldn't be named. The kind of discomfort you only admit to yourself in the dark, right before sleep. Suddenly, the little things stack up in your head like red flags you can't keep folded. Who picks up the phone in the bathroom? Who starts talking about a new business opportunity but never once shows you any details? Who reassures you with words but can't look you in the eye? When Yara finally scrolled through months of hidden messages, saw the plans being made with an Australian woman, saw her name, saw the receipts, her stomach dropped. The missing cash, $320,000, was never business. All that time, it was already feeding a double life. The one thing reality stars never want, a plot twist they can't spin. That's how it starts for so many. An Instagram fairy tale turns into a social media crime scene. Every fan post from that week has aged like milk. You see the forced grins now, and it makes sense. Did Jovi ever actually believe he wouldn't get caught? Did he think Yara was just going to keep playing along because that's what love is supposed to mean? But here's the part nobody is prepared for, the real-time collapse of everything you value. For Yara, it wasn't just betrayal. It was public shame, private rage, the feeling that the person next to her every night was planning to disappear all along. Even after finding evidence, she had to pretend. Just to stay in control, to buy time for the truth to pile up until it could finally crush the lie completely. If you were in her place, would you keep quiet to gather proof, or would you throw it all on the table the second your trust breaks? Not even 24 hours after that message dropped, Jovi was already prepping to erase her from his life. No apology, no explanation, just a pivot straight to the next chapter with the Australian woman. Yara was left calculating not just what she lost, but what she could prove, the difference between being a victim and making the next move. Now it wasn't about love. It was about survival, dignity, and making sure the story didn't end with her as the punchline. As the news hit the internet, friends, strangers, trolls, everyone started playing detective, picking through their history for clues. Why did Jovi always work offshore for weeks at a time? Why would Yara trust him with that much money? The same questions that played in Yara's mind were suddenly being debated everywhere, and every new detail stung like salt in a wound. This wasn't a breakup. This was a public demolition. The kind that rewrites both futures in real time, as all the happy memories curdle overnight. But what happened next pushed the stakes even higher, and no one, not the fans, the cast, or Jovi and Yara themselves, were remotely ready for it. You know the fallout is coming, but you won't believe just how many secrets are still hiding under all those Instagram-perfect smiles. At first, no one wants to believe a love story is ending. Especially not when it's dressed up for Instagram, hashtagged, and played out for fans every week like one endless party. Yet anyone watching closely could see the cracks spidering across that perfect selfie, if you know. Jovi's new habits started small. Odd notifications, evening meetings lasting longer than his actual work hours, always on his phone but never present. Bro, what is this? Secret agent life? Dilmain kuch to gadbad high, right? The dude who used to leave his phone out on the counter is now clutching it like it's the last ticket out of town. It was comedy at first, the way he'd pause mid-argument to answer some urgent text, only to come back acting like nothing happened. Yara would roll her eyes, laugh it off, convince herself she was being dramatic. She told her friends, "All couples fight, nah?" But fighting is one thing. Silence is another. When the conversation dries up but text threads keep growing, you know something's cooking behind the scenes. And let's be honest, who has urgent business calls at midnight that don't seem to add up? Every time he told her not to worry, her gut twisted a notch tighter. Late nights became the new normal. Jovi stepping out for meetings that never made sense, coming home tired but with that forced cheerful energy you can smell from a mile away. Who comes home smiling after hours of missed calls, but can't explain where he's been. If your man's Google location history is private, abtosamajjo, something's fishy. Even Yara's friends started whispering, financial stress, emotional distance, their daughter sensing the tension. Yara tried to find comfort in routine, in motherhood, in believing things would bounce back. But trust, once cracked, doesn't patch over with cute family pics and holiday posts. As weeks passed, suspicion wasn't just a passing thought. It was now her bedtime routine. Yara woke up every night listening for whispers behind closed doors. She watched him text on the balcony and quickly flip his phone screen down whenever she entered. She would have given anything for him to prove her wrong, to say she was being paranoid, to laugh at her overthinking. But then he started picking up calls in the hallway, muting himself as soon as she walked by. Kia scene hi Yar? Marriage is a partnership, not a spy thriller. The hardest part? Yara didn't want to be that girl. The suspicious wife. The one who checks phones, second-guesses every word, starts fights over nothing. But doubts aren't nothing, especially when you feel alone sitting right next to someone. She replayed their old laughter in her mind, trying to believe it hadn't all disappeared. When was the last time he made eye contact and really heard her voice, not just her words? It's scary, feeling the love shift from warm to cold, seeing it turn to routine, sensing someone is already halfway out the door before you've even understood why. One night, everything snapped. Jovi slipped up, left his phone on the coffee table, too caught up in rushing out. The screen lit up with a preview, a message from a number with an Australian code. The kind of text that makes your heart freeze, the kind you reread 4 times to confirm you're not hallucinating. Missing you already. Yara's hands shook, not with anger, but with sadness, like her own heart was reporting back the news she never wanted to face. That one message turned all her suspicions into a cold, crystal certainty. Even then, she waited. Because what do you do when the love of your life might also be the biggest liar you've ever known? Wait for the truth, or demand it, knowing each second will change everything. She waited for him in silence, holding herself together with that last thread of dignity only the betrayed truly understand. Jovi came home humming like nothing had happened, dropped his keys, and faked small talk that never landed. Yara let him talk, refusing to give him clues about what she'd seen. He scrolled through his phone, acting busy, an actor caught rehearsing backstage lines he'd used 100 times. But nothing could hide the new distance in his eyes or the guilt in his movements. She finally spoke, voice colder than she'd ever used. She asked for truth.
He dodged.
She asked again, this time firmer, steady as stone. When his answers fell apart, she laid it out, names, dates, the exact contents of the messages. The room filled with a pressure that felt like a hurricane bearing down, one of those moments when you realize the person in front of you is more stranger than soulmate. Still, he tried to lie one last time. Denial, deflection, half-hearted attempts to gaslight her. But the evidence was just too detailed, too damning. His defiance collapsed under the weight of screenshots, plans for a future that never included Yara at all, and the glaring gap in their joint account. She challenged him, not just about the cheating, but about the $320,000. Where was the money, the dream, the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? But nobody's dreams are this expensive when the receipts lead straight to someone else's phone number. Everyone expects a scream, a thrown glass, a meltdown. Instead, Yara grew quiet. Dignity can sometimes be sharper than rage. Sometimes, it's the silence that sticks in your throat forever. She let him stand there, exposed, every secret out in the open. The shock, the humiliation, the loss, each one a wave crashing over her trust, her judgment, her sense of self. The heartbreak wasn't just losing a person, it was losing the life she thought she'd built, brick by brick, now knocked down in the public square. When Jovi finally left the room, maybe for good, Yara sat staring into the dark. No tears yet, just a thick, heavy weight that settled across her chest. Grief and anger mixed and swirled inside her, folding into something cold, something resigned, something practical. If you've ever been betrayed like this, you know there's a moment of withdrawal, almost like your soul pulls back, watching it all happen from behind glass. Almost as bad as the heartbreak itself is the social fallout. The internet doesn't wait to pounce. Within hours, every fan page, every gossip group, every meme account was dissecting the news. People who had never met them suddenly became certified experts on where it went wrong. One moment, they're everybody's favorite reality couple. The next, the same fans are roasting Jovi, flooding his Instagram with clown emojis, dissecting every accidental background detail from the last 10 episodes. It turned their private disaster into a punchline. Yara went from adored to pitted in a single meme cycle. Everyone wanted to pick sides, write theories, blame her for being too generous, blame him for being so obvious. Hundreds of comments bounced back and forth. Didn't you see the red flags? Why trust anyone with that much money? Some claimed sympathy while others just wanted to stir the pot, using her heartbreak as their midnight entertainment. But let's not pretend it didn't hurt. Every notification brought new commentary. Some people called her strong. Others called her naive. Some took her side. Others blamed both of them for chasing fairy tales on camera. Each hot take only pressed the bruise deeper. The gossip, the screenshots, the edited reaction clips, they all magnified Yara's worst fears until she started viewing her own pain from 1,000 perspectives. Yet for every insult, there was also support. Followers flooded her inbox, sharing stories of being cheated, of losing money to people they loved, of getting up afterward, even when standing felt impossible. Betrayal always feels personal. When it's public, it multiplies. Meme culture is savage, but sometimes shows a weird kind of empathy, half roast, half rallying cry for anyone who's been there. Think about what you'd do in her place. Would you rage at the world? Destroy what's left of trust? Or would you, like Yara, sit in the stillness and plan your next move? Betrayal can make you reckless. But sometimes it makes you smart. Yara understood if she wanted justice, not just closure, she would need to play the long game. Emotions can make you impulsive, but she stayed clear. Facts, timelines, receipts, she started building her own case, not just for herself but for everyone watching. As the news kept spiraling, Jovi tried to distract, posting carefree photos with his so-called fresh start, broadcasting his life as if nothing happened. Every move he made, every caption, only added fuel to the firestorm. Some tried to defend him, claimed he'd been pushed, claimed love is complicated, claimed nobody could know the full story. But the facts stuck. Money missing, secret messages, quiet goodbyes. Each piece fit perfectly in the world's most public puzzle. Yara's pain became a symbol. Not the only woman betrayed, but the one who wouldn't stay broken. She didn't chase a public fight. She gathered evidence. While the internet argued, she started meeting with lawyers. The dream Jovi sold her wasn't just broken, it was a scam. Emotion turned to practicality. Her goal became clarity, safety, putting the record straight, reclaiming her sense of worth. You wonder, at this point, how much more humiliation a person can take before switching from heartbreak to action. What would you do if the world watched you be betrayed, mocked, then expected you to walk away quiet? Yara chose the loudest silence, legal paperwork. Sometimes the smartest revenge is written in signatures, not statuses. While the breakup played out on every feed, fans were busy taking screenshots. But the story was about to escalate. Not only did she demand her stolen money back, she did something most people in her situation only dream of. She took it to court. Before the internet could move on or the drama become old news, Yara's team filed the papers. Now, it wasn't just her word against his. The receipts would decide, and the world would have proof, not just whispers. Personal heartbreak had turned, in a flash, into a public battle of receipts and consequences. Jovi never expected the next chapter of his reality star life would include court dates, evidence, and the kind of accountability public figures always think they can avoid. Stakes had never been higher. But as lawyers lined up the texts, the transactions, the plans Jovi made behind closed doors, the final act was about to begin. Could Yara win back her dignity and her cash? Or was the circus only getting started? Once the papers were filed, everything changed. Real life doesn't pause for public opinion. Lawyers started digging through months of texts, wire transfers, receipts so detailed you could practically feel the weight of every secret promise. The courthouse became a stage, not for romance, but for truth, cold, indisputable, immune to charm and camera angles. Every detail of Jovi and Yara's life was up for cross-examination, and it didn't matter how beautiful their reality show romance looked online. Under the courtroom lights, the story had to survive on hard facts. Yara entered the building looking strong, collected, her pain hidden behind perfectly set shoulders. She was outnumbered by doubts and whispered judgments, but this time, she was playing for herself. No makeup team, no retakes, no producers to cue the drama. Across the aisle, Jovi tried to keep it cool, but his posture gave away everything. Eyes darting, hands clenching, voice dropping a half-tone every time evidence was mentioned. The trial was tense from the start. Even the judge seemed wary of being swept up in reality TV energy, so everything moved carefully by the book. Yara's team lined up exhibit after exhibit, the $320,000 transfer, the empty timeline where the business was supposed to be, the private messages revealing plans that never included her. Every phone call, every flight, every strange withdrawal, mapped out on a calendar until the coincidences looked less like chance and more like calculation. Jovi's defense withered under the heat. For every excuse, there was a counterpoint. For every vague answer, a receipt. The jury heard about the Australian woman, the coded texts, the instant switch from lover to stranger. Observers could tell the mood inside was icy. Some moments, Jovi seemed tempted to throw himself on the mercy of the court, to apologize instead of explain. But ego's a stubborn thing. He kept glancing at Yara, searching for even a flinch or flash of forgiveness, but she watched the proceedings with an even stare. If heartbreak is a process, she'd already reached the stage where only truth mattered. Outside, the circus went on. Reporters hovered. Fans on TikTok and Instagram analyzed every update, who wore what, who looked away first, which lawyer seemed more confident. Opinions flew. Is this justice, or just two reality stars fighting for headlines? But inside, the room held a heavier quiet, every word landing with the crunch of finality. When text surfaced, showing Jovi making plans for a new life while still sleeping next to Yara, the air turned thick. Nobody wanted to look at him. Screenshots don't lie. This wasn't a dramatic edit or a twist produced for TV ratings. This was the raw stuff. Trust, broken on paper, numbers and names lining up with every story Yara had pieced together over months of sleepless nights. Reputation is a fragile thing. Jovi's image went from playboy to pariah, all swagger replaced by damage control. Some fans argued that he deserved a second chance, that relationships are messy, that no one really knows what happens between two people. Others saw the courtroom evidence for what it was: premeditated betrayal, selfishness at full volume, and not even a flicker of remorse. Suddenly, every fan theory about the couple's chemistry looked naive. Even as the trial played out, both sides tried to control the narrative behind the scenes. Jovi stayed quiet online, his silence only increasing speculation. Meanwhile, Yara avoided the urge to lash out, putting her faith in evidence over outrage. Sometimes resilience looks like detachment. Sometimes it's just refusing to play the part of the victim when you've spent months being made to doubt your own reality. The moments leading up to the verdict stretched out endlessly. You could almost hear hearts racing in the silent room, everyone bracing for whatever final twist might come. When the judge finally spoke, nobody dared to breathe. Decision. The evidence was clear. Yara had been defrauded. The money had never gone toward any business. The intent was written all over the records and receipts. Jovi was ordered to pay back the full amount, plus damages. For him, prison time wasn't a dramatic pause before redemption. It was accountability. Lifetime reputation now permanently linked with headlines no influencer campaign could scrub. The look he gave Yara then wasn't defiant, but hollow, like someone realizing too late that the game was over. Outside, the story went bigger than ratings. Yara wasn't out for revenge. She wanted something fundamental: her dignity, her safety, her future untangled from someone else's chaos. That clarity only comes from walking through fire and refusing to shrink. The world saw a woman holding the pieces of her life, but the truth was simpler. She was already building the next version, brick by careful brick. As the courtroom emptied, the atmosphere shifted again.
No aplause, no final.
After months of tension, the quiet between them said everything, an ending, tinged with regret, but not relief. Yara turned her back on the drama, eyes forward, hands empty of everything that wasn't hers. But before the chapter truly closed, there was one last necessary step, the one she'd been carrying in her heart since the first night of discovery. She filed for divorce, not as surrender, but as self-respect in its purest form. The paperwork was her line in the sand, a promise to herself that survival was not enough, not this time. Ending the marriage wasn't about closure. It was about giving herself a shot at peace after too many heartbreaks staged for public amusement. And anyone watching knew, the story wasn't over. Something stronger, and far more unpredictable, was about to begin. Divorce signed, courtroom echoed empty behind her, and for the first time in what felt like years, Yara could hear her own thoughts instead of everyone else's opinions. There's no easy way to heal with the whole internet watching, but Yara never needed easy. She needed real. She needed to stand quietly in the middle of the mess, breathing through the shock, letting herself grieve the old dreams before building new ones. There's a unique pain in having every mistake and every heartbreak shared on public feeds, but there's also a strange power in letting the world see you rise from it, stronger than before. At the beginning, every memory stung. Those first mornings alone, she half expected to hear Jovi wandering around, complaining about the coffee or scrolling through his phone, already distracted by everything except what mattered. Instead, she faced only silence. But with each silent day, the fear of being alone faded. She wasn't just the woman who got hurt, who lost money, who was lied to. She was someone putting herself back together with no script, no applause, and no need for anyone's approval except her own. The public's reaction shifted quickly, as it always does. At first, the memes stung. All the clown emojis, the jokes about trusting too easily, the hot takes about love and money. It almost felt like fans were rooting for her downfall. But something strange happened as Yara stayed focused. She never lashed out, never dragged Jovi on her socials, never stooped to pettiness or drama. Her quiet resilience made noise of its own. She was modeling how to win without revenge. Gradually, the tone changed. Admiration replaced gossip. Comments started to fill up with messages of support, stories from viewers who'd been in her shoes, hopes for her and her child's future. It's funny how quickly public opinion can swing when you refuse to play the villain or the victim. There were days when the pain felt fresh, especially watching clips of the two of them from better times. Heartbreak doesn't run on a producer's schedule. Recovery moves slowly, sometimes backward. Yara learned how to set boundaries in her own life, protecting her energy, refusing to carry someone else's chaos, teaching her daughter love isn't supposed to make you doubt yourself. Was it all a loss?
No.
It was tuition paid for a lesson she'd never be fooled by again. Small routines became comfort. Cooking for her daughter. Answering messages from fans, not for fame, but for the reminder that community is stronger than shame. Every supportive DM was a little thread pulling her back toward wholeness. Every story shared in confidence a reminder that televised love usually hides more than it shows. Yara realized she didn't need a Hollywood romance. She wanted a safe home, honest company, peace in her decisions. She started finding herself again, not in the drama, but in the quiet. Deleted old pictures that felt like strangers. Made plans she could control. Picked up new hobbies, met new people away from the cameras, did things for herself, tested her own strength. That's the real glow-up the cameras rarely show. You lose so much, then realize you're still here. Your worth is still untouched by someone else's mistakes. Jovi's reputation never recovered in the way he'd planned. While he tried to rebrand online, change the narrative, the internet never quite let him forget. Memes have a long memory, and every apology post only extended the discussion. He faded from the spotlight while Yara's story found new life, not because of the drama, but because of the grace with which she handled it. Somewhere in the middle of all this, fans started noticing the real shift. Less about the betrayal, more about how you come back from public humiliation without hardening into bitterness. Some looked for lessons. Others followed to see if she would date again, return to TV, or start a business of her own. Yara's new chapter was not about proving anyone wrong. It was about remembering who she was and building a life her daughter could be proud of. In every heartbreak, there's a turning point. You either let it write your ending, or you use it as the rough draft of something better. Yara, with all her flaws, chose the latter. She set boundaries, kept her circle small, and learned to appreciate the small wins. Her mindset shifted from survival to growth. From obsessing over what went wrong to building something that couldn't be taken away by anyone else's choices. She became a quiet example for anyone who has ever felt small after someone else's betrayal. The lesson wasn't about never trusting again, but about learning which signs to never ignore and which promises require proof. While some hearts chase fantasy, others grow up, heal, and thank themselves for surviving. Even if it took the loudest possible breakup to learn that lesson. If you've ever wondered whether you'd survive this kind of public collapse, know this. Yara did, and so can you. Personal growth isn't something you film, but something lived every day, one choice at a time. She didn't just survive the fallout, she thrived in it, no longer worried if anyone was watching. Every story in 90 Day Fiancé leaves something unfinished, a question burning for the next chapter. Yara's was proof drama doesn't end with divorce. It ripples through friends, family, and the next headline waiting to explode. Because after one saga ends, another is always waiting just out of sight. Which makes you wonder, with new faces joining the franchise every season, who will be the next to risk everything for love, only to find the price is nothing like you expected. And if you think you've seen all the plot twists 90 Day Fiancé has to offer, just wait until the next story. Some secrets come wrapped in a wedding ring. Others? Their fallout will leave you staring at your screen, refusing to look away.